You go out all night till the break of day. Snap me up with every word I say. And little by little, I'm losing you, I can't see. Yeah, bit by bit, child, your love slip away from me. Yeah, I know what you're doing, baby, now you know that ain't right. I wonder what you're doing, that it takes all night. Little by little, I'm losing you, I can't see. Yeah, bit by bit, child, your love slip away from me. And I said, oh, 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 baby, that's the way I feel. And I said, oh, 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 baby, that's the way I feel. And I said, oh, 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 child, baby, that's the way I feel. Yeah, I know what you're doing, baby, now you know that ain't right. I wonder what you're doing, it takes all night. Little by little, I'm losing you, I can't see. Yeah, bit by bit, child, love slip away from me. Well, I said, oh, 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 baby, that's the way I feel. And I said, oh, 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 baby, that's the way I feel. And I said, oh, 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 child, baby, that's the way
苦手じゃない。
I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling down these tracks. Throttle wide open, ain't no turning back. You know you see me coming, 'cause I'm right on time. Gonna ride these rails to the end of the line. I'm like a steam train. Yes, I'm like a steam train. Oh, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling on down the line. Well, I work on my momentum and I'm building nice and slow. Well, you see me coming up to speed again, that whistle blow. 'Cause when it comes to love, ain't nothing I don't know. Maybe I'm your conductor, I'm a stunt the far below. I'm like a steam train. Yes, I'm like a steam train. Oh, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling on down the line. Can you hear me coming? Yeah, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling down these tracks. Throttle wide open, ain't no turning back. You know you see me coming, 'cause I'm right on time. Gonna ride these rails to the end of the line. I'm like a steam train. Yes, I'm like a steam train. Oh, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling on down the line. Yes, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling on down the line. Yes, I'm like a steam train, baby, rolling on down the
Wow, that was beautiful. Good evening, everybody. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. Welcome to the 14th annual Eco Gala. I'm Judy, and I will be your MC this evening. Bonsoir tout le monde et bienvenue au 14e Eco Gala. Je m'appelle Judy je serai votre maître de cérémonie ce soir. Nous voulons commencer en reconnaissant le territoire sur lequel nous nous trouvons en majorité. Nous sommes, ici à Ottawa, sur le territoire traditionnel du peuple algonquin et nous les remercions du soin qu'ils ont porté à ce lieu important, traditionnel de commerce et d'échange, à la confluence de 3 grands fleuves. We would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. Although this is a digital event, Ecology Ottawa and most of the attendees tonight reside on traditional Algonquin territory. We'd like to thank the Algonquin for hosting us and for taking care of this land since time immemorial. Ottawa is a meeting place of 3 great, beautiful rivers and has been a place of trade and exchange for generations before European settlement and colonization. So the Eco Gala has for many years been a signature Ecology Ottawa event and the largest gathering of the environmental community in Ottawa. Many of you, like myself, have been lucky to be part of this event before. Although this year is a little bit different, we have planned an amazing full night for you. We've leveraged all the tools available to bring you a new kind of event, and we hope you'll like it. Thank you once again for joining us for the first ever digital Eco Gala. L'Eco Gala est une tradition depuis plusieurs années ici à Ottawa et beaucoup d'entre vous, comme moi, y ont assisté déjà plusieurs fois. Cette année, nous offrons un événement virtuel, mais aussi merveilleux et amusant que toujours. Nous espérons que ça va vous plaire et nous vous remercions infiniment d'avoir choisi d'être entre nous ce soir. And I'd also like to thank again River City Junction for their amazing musical performance that really got the evening off to a great start. What great music from a local Ottawa band. So first, before we get on to the exciting agenda planned for you, we have a few housekeeping notes. First of all, if you do have any technical difficulties, you can email info@ecologyottawa.ca or use the emergency phone numbers that were provided for you in the various emails that you've had. It's also in the chat box. Si vous avez des difficultés techniques, veuillez envoyer un courriel à info@ecology-ottawa.ca. Vous allez voir dans le chat box aussi. We're going to use this chat feature a fair bit tonight. So take a look at the chat box, which you'll see. You can click on it at the bottom of your screen. Nous allons beaucoup utiliser la boîte à clavardage ou le chat box ce soir. Donc, c'est probablement une bonne idée d'aller cliquer là-dessus et comme ça, vous allez voir et vous pouvez poser des questions un peu plus tard aussi. All night long, we will be counting donations, bringing you updates. So you'll see how we're doing this evening, because after all, this is a very important fundraiser for Ecology Ottawa. Our goal is to raise $3,500 this evening, actually in the next hour or so. The link is being posted in the chat right now, and you can use that link not only to make a donation, but to check out our super amazing silent auction, which must have been open for days already because lots of bids have come in. So go have a look. Ce soir, nous vous invitons à être généreux et contribuer à notre levée de fonds. Nous allons vous apporter des mises à jour régulièrement et notre objectif ce soir, c'est de recueillir 3 500 $. Le lien où vous pouvez aller contribuer ou même visiter le silent auction, vous pouvez aller voir dans le chat box pour le lien. The silent auction will be open all night long till 11:59, I am told. So you can go over there at any time, check out your bids, add to the excitement there. I know I've already bid on something. Also, everybody who has a ticket tonight has been entered into the door prizes. So very soon we'll be announcing the first door prize winners. So listen for your name. You won't need to have your ticket in front of you because we know who you are. So we'll announce the names of those people and what you've won. Tous ceux et celles qui ont acheté un billet ce soir ont été ajoutés à notre prix d'entrée. Nous allons tirer les gagnants 3 fois ce soir-là et on va vous annoncer les noms. Vous n'avez pas besoin de savoir le numéro de votre billet. Now, I'd like to just go over the program for the evening for a moment, just to orient everybody to what we'll be doing. So on the screen, you can see the program for the evening. You've also received it in email, so you know what's going to happen. The first hour will be all together here. Then we'll be changing platforms. So Rally is the name of the platform. You have the link also in your email, and you will need Google Chrome to access it. We'll give you some more information about that later. But if you don't have Google Chrome, you will need to download it to be able to access that platform. But that won't be until 8:30 tonight. Now I'd like to show you our wall of champions. So we have some community heroes that we'd like to acknowledge and give a heartfelt thanks for helping us make tonight possible. Uniting for Children and Youth and Architects DCA, along with all the other champions that you can see on this wall of champions, which will pop up over the course of the evening. And in particular, we'd really like to thank one of our gold sponsors, Lumos Energy. Lumos Energy is Canada's leading clean energy advisor to Indigenous communities across Canada, assisting First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people to become leaders for renewable energy, energy efficiency, advanced energy, and green energy infrastructure towards a low carbon economy and a just transition. Lumos is led by our very own Ottawa-based ecopreneur, Chris Henderson, who authored the groundbreaking book, Aboriginal Power. We will be thanking other sponsors as well throughout the evening that made tonight possible. And we'd also like to give a special welcome to a few special guests that you might get to meet later if they join us in the networking or reception. We have MP Marie-France Lalonde from Orleans. Merci d'être ici avec nous ce soir. And we have 4 city councillors. We have councillors Sean Menard, Teresa Kavanaugh, Catherine McKenney, and Mathieu Fleury with us this evening. So now we're going to get started with the fun part of the evening. Donc maintenant, après avoir remercié les invités spéciaux, et nous allons maintenant apprendre comment créer notre propre cocktail Eco-Gala. So I am going to jump us over to Harry from Bar Traveling Man. I hope you have all your ingredients ready. And Harry provides virtual and private cocktail classes. Tonight, he's going to walk us through a special Eco-Gala signature cocktail called Winter in Ottawa. So we'll see you after you get your cocktails made.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for getting me involved in this. I love presenting cocktails and really happy to be involved in this. So today, so we got a cocktail. I made a cocktail today, sorry. It's inspired by the French 75. So this cocktail is going to be really fruity, refreshing, but it should be delightful this time of year, anywhere you are in Canada. So start off with, we got to start off with the most important thing today. I'm going to drop some blackberries in here. So you want to try to put in about 4 or 5 into your shaker. There we go. Now, if you've got a muddler or the back end of a spoon, just gently press them down. You don't have to do too much muddling because berries are pretty soft, and the ice, when you shake a cocktail, will basically muddle the berries for you. So you don't really need to go too crazy on that. And then the important stuff is gin. This cocktail, you can use pretty much any type of gin for this. I'm doing aviation right now. That's all I had in my cupboard. So I'm sure, pretty much any type of gin will work. I really like something like a herbal style gin, like in the Okanagan, we have a distillery that does like a smoked rosemary or a sage gin. That will work really well with something fruity as well. Or you can just throw some herbs in there as well, whatever you like. It's a really versatile cocktail. So I just poured about 1 ounce. If you really want to, if you want more booze, just add 2 ounces in there. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I might actually do that. I'm off today, so why not? So with the blackberries, you've got the gin. Then you need some lemon juice. So I'm going to pour in about 3/4 ounce in there. And then we need some syrup. And I kind of cheated a little bit. I made a blackberry syrup as well. This will just give it a real fruity note. But I'm going to teach you how to make a simple syrup at home as well. Because this is pretty much what it is. So I'm just going to put that aside for 1 second. So basically a simple syrup is just equal parts sugar and water. So basically you just want to make sure, you want to try to get the measurements kind of even as much as possible. So it's just 1 part sugar and then 1 part water. And that's what it is. It's just as simple as that. You just want to make sure the water is really hot. And then this will just melt the sugar. And then once it's dissolved, you just want to put it in the fridge, let it cool down, and then you have simple syrup. As easy as that. So yeah, going back to the cocktail now. So I got the sugar in there, I got the gin, lemon juice, and blackberries. Just need some ice. So now you just need to shake the cocktail. We're going to put some ice in here. Now, very important, when you're going to shake a cocktail, you want to make sure you put everything in the larger glass there, tin, sorry. And then when you're shaking a cocktail, you want to make sure the tall one is at the bottom. And the reason why you do that is when you're shaking a cocktail, there's a chance this will explode. It does happen. It's happened to me on many occasions, and it's funny as anything. But if you shake it like this, there's less volume and you won't be able to save your cocktail. But when you shake it and then have the big tin on the bottom, you're going to more likely save it, which is a good thing because there's booze in it and you don't want to waste booze. So I'm just going to shake it up. So you want to shake it till it's really nice and cold. I would say roughly about 10 seconds or so. And then you want to just strain it into your glass. So I've already garnished this glass. It does matter on the type of glass you have. Like if you've got like a champagne flute, I would maybe do a little bit less lemon juice and syrup, just so that you can actually fill the glass with the next ingredient. But I'm going for a coupe because I've got a bigger cocktail and I'm a little bit more greedier. And then because you put berries in it, you want to double strain it as well. And the reason for that is you want to remove all the pulp from the cocktail. So I'm not sure you can see that, but there's like muddled berries and stuff, and you don't want that in the cocktail. It doesn't really help with the drinking experience. So yeah, so this is the cocktail, and then I'm just going to finish off with a little bit of bubbly. Prosecco is my choice today, just to fill that up. And yeah, so this is a take on a French 75. It's been around since World War I, and it's a really good classic to have and to know. And yeah, and it's very versatile as well. So you can use different herbs, different berries, and you can use this recipe to make anything you want, really, and to impress your friends and family. So guys, this is my cocktail. If you have any questions, shoot me a message and I'm happy to answer any questions you have as well. Thank you very much.
That was pretty special. I must say that was delicious. And cheers to everybody. I've got my cocktail here. So we're now ready to move on to an award ceremony. So before we do that, if you made the cocktail and you want to share your results, please put a note in the chat box. There's been some great conversation there, and hello to people who've said hello to me. And if you liked your cocktail or did something different, go ahead and share that in the chat box. It makes it feel like we're all together. We know there are hundreds and hundreds of you out there, so feel free to jump into the chat and make your comments known. So now we are going to announce the winner of the Green Business Champion Award presented by Lumos Energy. The intention is to highlight local green business champions and support our local business community. Ce soir, nous avons la chance d'offrir un prix spécial à quelqu'un qui est né en France, émigré au Canada en 2003, après une carrière en affaires. Elle est devenue enseignante au niveau secondaire ici à Ottawa en 2008. So today we have the honor of giving an award to someone who was born in France, lucky for us, emigrated to Canada and Ottawa in 2003. After a career in business, she became a high school teacher with the Ottawa Carleton District School Board in 2008. And in 2016, she started adopting a zero waste lifestyle and identified the need for a grocery store that would be designed and conceived for zero waste shopping. The idea became a business plan, and the business plan became a reality. So please join me in welcoming Valérie Leloup from New Grocery, who is our recipient and will be talking about how businesses have a role to play in pushing an environmental agenda. Valerie, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Judy. Thank you for this award to Ecology Ottawa. On behalf of the whole team at New and also our co-founder, Sia Veramani, who's not here today, but who I represent also, it's a great honor to receive it. I have to say, when I arrived in Ottawa in 2006, Ecology Ottawa had just been created, I believe. So it was only a few years later that you appeared on my radar. But soon enough, I was attending rallies against Energy East. I was applying stickers on loonies, for those who remember this campaign. I also traveled to Quebec City in a school bus to attend the climate march. And I remember this one very vividly. I should say my back remembers the 6-hour ride in a school bus very, very well. So this award means a lot to me personally. Ecology Ottawa's environmental leadership is pretty unique and remarkable, and we need it now more than ever. But we all have a role to play, and so do businesses. When Sia and I opened our first store in Hintonburg in 2017, it was very clear to us that we wanted to be more than just a zero waste grocery store. We wanted to be a platform to educate about waste, and we wanted to be a place to promote the zero waste lifestyle as an alternative to the reckless mass consumerism that most of us grew up with. Giving back was also part of a plan. So this year, during the pandemic, coincidentally, we launched our 1% for a Cause program. The idea is to donate 1% of our sales revenue to environmental and social justice causes. We called it 1% for a Cause because we did not want to limit ourselves to the environment. We believe that the issues that we face today are highly intertwined, and that we cannot build a sustainable future if we leave behind the poor and the vulnerable, if we ignore systemic racism against Black, Indigenous, and people of color, if we allow gender inequalities, and if we discriminate against the LGBTQ+. It is no coincidence that those who have the most ambitious plans to fight climate change are also the ones who have the most progressive social agenda. To give you an idea, Ecology Ottawa was actually the very first recipient of our program, of 1% for a Cause program, followed by Capital Pride. And this month, we are donating to our local food banks, Parkdale Food Center and Centertown Emergency Food Center. When I went to business school in France 30 years ago already, there was no mention in my program of social entrepreneurship. It seemed like the sole purpose of a business was money. And that's probably why I really hated business school. Fortunately, things have changed, and social entrepreneurship is no longer an oddity. Business can be a force for good, and that is what we strive to be at New Grocery. So thank you again for recognizing us. To those who do not know us yet, well, first, that's a shame, but you can make good on it and check us check us out on our website, newgrocery.com. Follow us on social media at New Grocery, or just stick around and chat with me during the networking part of this wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Valérie, pour ces mots inspirants. En tant que cliente régulière du New Grocery sur Main, je peux attester que tous ces produits nécessaires pour un quotidien sans plastique s'y trouvent. I can confirm, as a regular shopper, now mostly at New Grocery on Main, that everything you could need for a zero waste lifestyle can be found there. So heartfelt congratulations for winning this award and for all that you do.
Thank you, Judy.
Now we're going to draw the first door prize winner for the evening. Actually, we'll be naming 2 winners 3 times in the evening, so 6 altogether. So the first winner that we have been given with a random number generator called WhatsApp. I have been sent the information, and the winner of draw number 1, winner number 1 is David Rhinas or Rinas. I am not sure. I'm sorry how to pronounce your last name, Rhynas. And the second winner of the first door prize draw is Christina Harrison Baird. So David and Christina, you are the happy winners of 5 passes each to the Canadian War Museum. So you will receive your coupons for that 5 people to enter free of charge. And you'll get your email sometime this week with all of your information. So congratulations to the door prize winners. And there we are. The names are in the chat box in case I completely mangled it. And you will know that you are the winner of the first prize. And now I am told that we are going to update on donations. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we are asking everyone to donate this evening so that we can meet our fundraising target. And as you can see, that we are doing quite well. And we are confident that with the support of this wonderful community that's joined us tonight, that we will reach our target goal. So as of right now, this is where we are at. And I'd also like to encourage you to check out the silent auction, which, as I said, has over 40 amazing items, services that you can order, that you can win or bid on, including a lot of things, bicycle things, which I was very excited to see. And one thing that I personally highly encourage you to check out is former city councilor David Chernushenko's book. I had a chance to read this book last year, and it was actually amazing. It was a real thriller. I was just on the edge of my seat to find out what actually happens. It was really well done, and he just does an amazing job of weaving together the news of the day, things that you recognize, historical events, but with fictional characters living through this world. So really fantastic. And a couple of DVDs are bundled together. What a perfect Christmas present for someone on your list. Also, like I said, check out all the bike vendors, local bike vendors who've had a pretty good year this year with COVID. Get your bike tuned up, get bike helmets, get accessories, and so on. So you have until 11:59 tonight to go and bid on those items. And now we have another really interesting local speaker who's going to share a really interesting health perspective for us. I'd like to introduce Dr. Sarah Sloan. Dr. Sarah Sloan is a family physician working in Ottawa. She is the co-founder of MD Moms for Healthy Recovery. And this is a group that is advocating for a health-focused, sustainable, and equitable recovery from COVID-19. So she'll be talking to us tonight about climate change and public health. What an incredibly topical theme for this evening. So Dr. Sloan, I welcome you to the virtual stage. And I think you might be muted. There we go. I think we might be hearing you now. Go ahead. Yep,
Is that any better?
that's perfect. We can hear you now.
Is it really? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Judy, very much. I really appreciate the introduction, and thank you very much to Ecology Ottawa for having me. It's very, very humbling, and I'm very honored to be here. And as mentioned, I'm presenting here tonight as a family physician, and I wish to speak to the connection between climate change, COVID-19, and our health. So as a family physician, I see many patients impacted by climate change on a regular basis. I've treated patients with new onset asthma exacerbated by wildfire smoke, elderly patients trapped by floodwaters, and patients presenting with Lyme disease. The health of Canadians from coast to coast is being impacted by climate change, whether that's food insecurity in the north, wildfire smoke and air quality in the west, drought and flooding through central Canada, and extreme heat, Lyme disease, tornadoes, and displacement across Eastern Canada. These major changes bring about mental health effects, including post-traumatic stress disorder, grief with a changed relationship with the land, and eco-anxiety. In my profession, I am blessed to have the opportunity to care for the health of so many in our community, from the elderly to infants. To help someone enjoy improved health is my goal in every patient visit. But I know that all the work that I do and my colleagues still only accounts for about 25% of society's health outcomes. This is because the primary factors that influence our health come from our physical and emotional environments, our cultural and social influences, our financial situation, and our education. These are our social determinants of health. And we recognize now that these social determinants are upheld by our ecological determinants of health: clean air, clean water, healthy land, a stable climate, and biodiversity. Health is something we all have on our minds these days. 2020 has been difficult. We have lost many lives and livelihoods to COVID-19, and many hang in the balance. Many levels of government and organizations have put off climate action until we make it through COVID-19. Yet COVID-19 is not separate from climate change. It is not a distinct silo issue. COVID-19 is a symptom of a deeper illness rooted in the climate crisis and our planetary health emergency. The conditions driving and resulting from climate change also favor the spread of disease from animals to humans, known as zoonotic disease. So as we continue to push nature back to make way for intensive agriculture and development, as we continue to fuel climate change with ongoing fossil fuel subsidies and dependency, we will continue to see the effects of climate change, including extreme weather events. Destruction of natural habitats by deforestation, agriculture, and extreme weather events like fires, droughts, and flooding displace people and animals, creating opportunity for contact and disease transmission from animal to human. With food insecurity increasing, many people will rely on bushmeat for sustenance, offering another opportunity for zoonotic transmission. With loss of biodiversity, viruses are more likely to spread. We have, in fact, seen a rise in zoonotic diseases in recent decades, including HIV, SARS, MERS, Ebola, Zika, and COVID-19. Without action to curtail our intensive use of land and resources and urgent climate action, we will face more planetary health emergencies, such as COVID-19. Our biggest opportunity to protect the health of every child born today and those yet to be born comes from protecting our air, water, land, and biodiversity with bold, urgent, and far-reaching action. These changes take social and political will. These changes need community leadership, like Ecology Ottawa, who is engaging the public in these issues and participating in decisions that influence health, like city budgets, tree cover, active transportation, and renewable energy sources. At times, these transformations can seem massive, but remember, we have just done this with COVID-19. We have shown that we prioritize health as a society, and that when our health is threatened, we can change quickly and massively to protect ourselves and each other. As we look ahead to our recovery from COVID-19, we need to transform again to ensure that we are building back in a way that prioritizes health, sustainability, and justice. My colleagues and I are proud to support Ecology Ottawa in the work they do to protect the health of Ottawa's people. And we know that climate action is the best treatment for eco-anxiety. So I'd like to challenge each of you to eat a healthy plant-based diet, exercise regularly in nature, and engage in climate action to benefit your health and that of every child born today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sloan. That was a very important message, and we really appreciate bringing us back to why we're all here today. We really are here to raise money for an exceptional organization that does some of this work on our behalf. And it's really inspiring to know that we have family physicians in Ottawa who are advocating for this with all of us. And it goes to show you that that tent is getting larger, and more people are realizing how important it is to take personal action and to hold our governments to account as well. So thank you for that. And I encourage people to ask questions of Dr. Sloan in the chat box. And at the end of this part of the evening, we will have a panel with all of our speakers, and they will be able to answer questions that you've put in the chat box throughout the next 45 minutes or so. So thank you again for that. Now I would like to take a moment to thank another one of our sponsors, the Ottawa River Psychology Group. Ottawa River Psychology is a group practice of registered psychologists and psychotherapists who specialize in third wave psychology for well-being and growth. They accept clients from across Ontario, and we are so grateful, again, more health providers that they joined us this year to help bring you this amazing event. Thank you to Kimberly, and thank you to your entire team for your support. And now we'll have another speaker, someone that I think you all know and is the leader of Ecology Ottawa, our executive director, Rob Barnes, a man who needs no introduction with this group. And he'll be talking to us about renewal and resilience in a post-COVID world. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you so much, Judy. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. It's incredible to see so many people on the call. You know, just a few months ago, we were wondering how to do this, and here you are, and here we are. So thank you so much for joining us. Merci d'être venu partager cette soirée avec la communauté environnementale d'Ottawa. Wow, what a year it's been, right? This year has imparted some hard lessons on all of us, I'm sure. COVID has really forced us to relearn what it means to be social, what it means to share and participate in the life of a city. But even as the pandemic has separated us physically, it's also underscored the incredible importance of community resilience. It's taught us that we're capable of rising to profound challenges, of helping one another, of protecting those we love. It's also taught us that evidence matters, right? Our world is one of complex, overlapping challenges. And as all of us know, the climate and extinction crises are in many ways the mother of all challenges. They elevate, they exacerbate, they compound, they complexify other risks, from food security to political extremism. Greta Thunberg, as you know, tells us that we can't ignore the scientists. We can't ignore science. And the pandemic has underscored that basic insight. And it gives us an opportunity to apply it to environmental challenges. It taught us, the pandemic has taught us that community action matters too. No one is an island. No person can determine the outcome of this disease for good or for ill. It rises and falls on the basis of community determination, community investments, and community action. Alors, pour relever des défis environnementaux auxquels nous sommes confrontés, Nous devrons renforcer ce sentiment de solidarité, de coopération et de compassion dans les mois et les années à venir. Let's not be naive, though. Even as we eagerly await the rollout of COVID vaccines, there are more storms on the horizon. As many of you know, the environmental threats we face can be vastly more challenging than a simple pandemic. To put it bluntly, too, there is no vaccine for climate change, but there is a solution, and it's one that we've already found, right? It's the importance of resilience, the salience of advocacy, political action, and the deep connections that come from neighborhood level conversations, debates, and discussions. So just as we're hearing that the cavalry is coming when it comes to vaccines, we can say with confidence that with the clean energy revolution underway and with vital pieces of climate planning coming into fruition here at home, the clean energy cavalry is coming to Ottawa too. Les prochaines décennies marqueront un changement sismique dans nos vies quotidiennes et auront le potentiel de déclencher un boom massif de l'emploi. So let's make sure that Ottawa is at the forefront of this change. This year, even as we responded and adapted to this strange new normal, our community continued to work for a greener city. I want to take this opportunity to thank the incredible group of you, all of you, the Ecology Ottawa team, Eric, who's the kind of maestro for this event, Drew for helping us out, our Ecology Ottawa volunteers, staff, our steering committee, for your unwavering determination to keep pushing forward despite the challenges. Let's think about what we've done. Just last week, we saw the culmination of one of Ecology Ottawa's earliest campaigns to stop the spilling of sewage into the Ottawa River. The combined sewage and stormwater tunnel was completed in response to thousands of Ecology Ottawa supporters demanding a cleaner, healthier river. And despite the pandemic, we've distributed hundreds of trees and secured major policy and funding wins needed to keep the city's urban forest management plan on track. We launched a unique and powerful urban biodiversity initiative with massive engagement and direct input from hundreds of Ottawans. Nous avons aussi lancé une initiative de surveillance pour la qualité de l'air, qui a le potentiel de changer la façon dont nous concevons notre ville, afin que nos aînés et nos enfants soient protégés contre les dommages d'une mauvaise qualité de l'air. We also spearheaded the public conversation over securing safe and accessible street space amid the pandemic, with major wins, thanks in no small part to the leadership of several councillors on council, as well as Toby Nussbaum and the NCC. We brought thousands of new supporters into the vital conversation about the really strong links between urban sprawl and the climate crisis, and we succeeded in getting real movement on the climate file at the city level. And thanks to last year's climate emergency declaration, we're now talking about the complete decarbonization by mid-century in line with IPCC requirements for a climate-safe world. You know, after the last year, I would say that I'm generally not into predictions. They're difficult at the best of times, right? But I have reason to believe that with your support, with your continued involvement and your continued engagement, 2021 will be a landmark year for our community. With your support, we can accelerate Ottawa's transition to a city that prioritizes sustainable transportation and that designs and invests accordingly. With your support, we can ensure that the city embeds the ambitious policy changes needed to transform Ottawa into a network of walkable, dynamic 15-minute neighborhoods, meaning we'll move to tackle the climate crisis while also building a better city. And with your support, we can ensure that the city redoubles its efforts to plant and protect a healthy urban tree canopy, offering ecological health, a vibrant city space, and relief from the heat in every neighborhood of our city. So tonight, I urge you to donate to continue this important work. We're sharing the link in the chat now. If Eric can hear me, the link is TRLIS, and you can use the code GXNT. And as you saw, our target tonight is $35,000. I just encourage, there are some of you who are not yet monthly donors, join as a monthly donor. Some of you are already monthly donors, please increase your gift. It's so important. Donations power our most important work. So I urge you to support the ongoing effort to make Ottawa a greener city tonight. I'll close with this. Historian Ben Wilson tells us we're on the cusp of a worldwide urban revolution, the culmination of a 6,000-year process whereby we will have become an urbanized species by the end of the present century. That means that cities like Ottawa are on the front lines of the challenges and solutions that confront our species in the decades to come. What we do here matters a lot. This is where we make our stand for a climate-safe future. This is where we do the hard work of building a greener country and a greener planet. And this is where we learn to embed the 7 generations thinking so enmeshed in the traditional worldview of our Indigenous friends and neighbors. So tonight, let's build a better city. Let's build a greener city. Thank you so much for playing a vital role in the work to make Ottawa the green capital of Canada.
Thanks, Rob. Merci beaucoup pour ce discours. It's inspiring to know that we have folks like Rob and his team working hard on our behalf when we get caught up in our daily busyness and our daily choices. But it's great to have Dr. Sloan and Valérie remind us about how every decision we make about what we eat and what we buy and where we buy it is going to add up to the solution to the problem. So thank you for that, Rob. Merci beaucoup. Alors, j'aimerais encore une fois vous encourager à aller nous offrir un don. C'est très important ce soir d'achever notre objectif de 35 000 dollars. So I will give you a quick update. We have made nearly $500 since the last time, which is a great step forward, but we still have a long ways to go. So please take a moment to visit our silent auction page or to just make a donation to this incredible organization that really will take every one of our collective dollars and multiply it many times over in succeeding in making, as Rob said, Ottawa the green capital of Canada. So I'm also now going to announce the next door prize winner. So I was sent the information. Let me find here the winner, the next two winners of the door prizes. We have Jerry Sullivan and we have Donna Pelly. And you have won each 2 copies, one for keeping, one for giving, of an interesting book called Being a Bird in North America. This is a unique book on birds that combines science and humor. You will get a chance to read one yourself, and you can give one away to someone as a low carbon Christmas present. So congratulations, you'll get an email from us with your information about how we can get your prize to you. In a moment, we are going to come to our keynote speaker for the evening. Someone that I know many of you have heard of or maybe heard him speak before. I've had the good fortune, and I know every time we hear new things, inspiring things and concrete ways that we can make our cities and our world a better place. But I'd also like to make mention of the fact that even young people are joining us this evening. And we had a great little comment in the chat box from a 13-year-old who says they feel inspired by this evening. And that's really wonderful, because I myself have a few kids, some of you know, and sometimes I'm a little bit embarrassed about what the world is like and what I say to them about what we as adults have done. So tonight's our chance to show them that we can not only make that goal, but what if we surprise Ecology Ottawa? And what if we overshoot that goal and really make a statement about what it means to us to have an organization like Ecology Ottawa working on behalf of us while we sleep, while we eat, while we work. They're out there making an important difference for us in Ottawa. So I'd just like to remind you that after our speakers and a few more prizes, we are going to move to the second part of our evening, which is our fabulous networking reception, which I had a chance to test out yesterday. And honestly, it's super cool. So you go in and you get to pick the room that you go to, and you actually get to pick the table you want to sit at. And you get to go sit with people in the rooms and chat. And I think all of our speakers are going to be joining us. I will be there as well. So you can look for us in the different rooms, come up to us and chat with us. It's really going to be pretty fun and unique. However, you do need Google Chrome in order to access it. So the link to Google Chrome will be put in the chat box. It's free. You just need to download it. And then you'll be ready to go around 8:30 when it's time to move over to Rally. You'll be able to do so. So check the chat box for the link and download it while you wait. Hopefully, many of you are enjoying the divine meal that we got from Time and Again, another exceptional local business in Ottawa. And I know we're going to be eating that while we hear from our next speaker. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Robin Mazumdar. Someone that hardly needs an introduction, but let me do it anyways. Robin Mazumner is an environmental neuroscientist who studies how the social and physical environments in which we live intersect to influence how we feel and function. And I find it so interesting that we heard from Dr. Sloan about that connection, and the Ottawa River Psychology Group also brings to us that connection between how we feel and how we act, our mental spaces and our physical spaces. So please join me in welcoming Robin to the virtual stage to hear him deliver a new talk about healthy cities, 15-minute neighborhoods, and how these ideas relate to our mental and physical health. Welcome.
Great, thanks, Judy. It's a real honor to be speaking with you in these very odd circumstances. I wish I could be there with you in person, but I'm actually here just outside of Victoria in Souk on the territory of the Tsuk Nation. And I think it's really important that we start with that land acknowledgement because what I'm going to be talking about today is our relationship to the land that we live on. That relationship has implications on our relationships to ourselves, our relationships to the people that we live around, and our relationship to the planet. And I really became aware of this relationship that we have to where we live when I was working as an occupational therapist. I did my master's at the University of Toronto in 2011. And it was actually during my education as an occupational therapist that it really shifted how I understood cities. Occupational therapists distinguish themselves, I guess, within the healthcare profession in that we pay particular attention to the environments in which people live. We use the social model of disability as opposed to the medical model of disability. The social model of disability looks at disability or illness as something that's a product of a disabling environment, whereas the medical model of disability positions the illness or the disability within the person, and the person's treated and the burden's really placed on the person and they're seen as broken. And not all doctors see things this way. Clearly, I don't think Dr. Sloan sees things that way, but that's just the term used for that model. And so using this environmental lens, I went into the city. I worked in Toronto for the Center for Addiction and Mental Health on a schizophrenia unit. I worked in Edmonton on a community mental health team. And the whole time, I started to really wonder how it was that the settings in which the people that I was supporting lived in really affected how they felt and functioned and ultimately their mental health. But it was one person that really, I think, changed how I saw things and motivated me to pursue the research that I'm doing now. I was working in Edmonton. I was working on a team called COAST. It was a complex community outreach assessment and support team. And it was focused on working with people with complex needs, which was government speak for people who fell through the cracks. People who had multi-system involvement from justice, addictions, mental health, they had developmental disabilities. And at the end of the day, regardless of whatever diagnosis they had, the most pervasive and detrimental issue that I saw that they were facing was loneliness. And this became apparent to me when I worked with this individual. He had attempted suicide. And I asked him what brought him to that point. And he just said, I don't have any friends. I'm terribly lonely. And so working with him, I went on a walk in his community to see where in his neighborhood he could connect with people. And he lived in a boarding home on the outskirts of the city. This is typically where people with disabilities were put in boarding homes. Very many people were packed into these places. And it became pretty apparent to me quite quickly that he actually had no opportunity to connect with people, even if he wanted. And so as a healthcare professional, I started to get frustrated because I saw that I actually couldn't do anything to address this more systemic issue that was actually a product of the built environment. You can't medicate loneliness, and there's no pill for friendship. And so that's what really pushed to pursue my PhD in neuroscience, where I use sophisticated technology to really look at these issues. But I want to take a second to talk about what it is that inspired me to even work in mental health in the first place. I've had mental health issues my whole life. I've struggled with depression and anxiety. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I've got a few labels. But I recognize after years of therapy and self-help books and 10-day meditation retreats that it's actually some of the experiences that I've had over my life and as a kid that really affected me. And there's one particular experience that I'll share with you. I was in India and Bangladesh. My mom's from India and my dad's from Bangladesh. They're actually over here right now. They're watching me talk. And we went on a trip to reconnect with my culture. It was amazing. You know, it was really pretty scary for a kid from the burbs in Montreal. Sorry to the people who are speaking French. I can't speak the best French tonight. I wish I could. But I did spend my childhood in Montreal. So we went from Montreal to India to really connect with family there. And we were in Bangladesh, in Chittagong, which is where my dad's from. And we were on our way to this beautiful beach there called Cox's Bazar. And to get there, we had to take a train from the city center. And to get to the train station, we had to take rickshaws. And for people who aren't familiar with rickshaws, they're bicycles that are pulled, they're chariots pulled by a bicycle. And I was in a rickshaw with my cousin and my uncle, and my parents and my sister were in a rickshaw ahead of me. And on our way to the train station, within a second, like my heart stopped because I saw a truck run over my family. This is a massive lorry. I froze. It was a pretty traumatic experience for me. All I remember is my cousin screaming. People were yelling. People were chasing this truck. A massive crowd is forming around my family, and I think that my family is dead. Very terrifying. And so clearly, I've processed it. It's a pretty tough thing to talk about, but I'm bringing it up because the experience that I had in my body is an extreme example of the stress that we can experience in our cities, and the connection between our built environment with automobiles and bicycles and people create conditions where people are put in harm's way. Luckily, my family came out okay. There was a few scratches. Unfortunately, the rickshaw driver was severely injured. He lost his rickshaw, his only means of support. And my family gave him some money to buy a new rickshaw, but God only knows what's happened to that man. But it was interesting to me because I remember running into this crowd of people crying as you would as a little kid, thinking your family's dead. And this guy looks at me and he says, "It didn't happen to you. Why are you crying?" And you could think that that would be a very harsh thing to say to a child. But when you consider the context of that country, in 1971, there was a massive genocide, which we've lost family members in. My dad's a survivor of that genocide. And so when you consider the context and how memory is embedded within our bodies and the places that we live in, we can start to understand how this intersection between place and feeling really emerges. And so I think in retrospect, I mean, I've kind of bounced around tangentially, not knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing, but through this process of self-reflection, I understand why I'm interested in these things. And this is one of those reasons. It affected my body. And so as a neuroscientist now, I use really sophisticated, I said this before, screw it. I don't use sophisticated, I use technology to measure how people's bodies respond to different built environments. So I use something called the electrodermal response, and that's how you sweat when you're experiencing stress. So we strap these sensors to people, we bring them in the city, and we see what different environments do. So I've done experiments ranging from watching what happens when people see public art to using brain imaging technology to see what happens when people ride their bikes in different settings, from having cycling infrastructure to not having cycling infrastructure. And my thesis focused on the experience that people have when they're surrounded by skyscrapers, which seems kind of weird, but when you're looking at what's happening to cities and we're urbanizing at a very rapid rate, we're popping these towers up, and I think they do serve a purpose, but arguably it's an issue of land use. And what's interesting is for my dissertation, I basically pulled from every area of research I could think, from sociology to urban design to neuroscience to other forms of psychology. And it was actually a sociologist who said that skyscrapers are capital made durable. And so it makes you think about how capitalism and all these forces that arguably pushes us apart is manifested in our built environment. And then we have skyscrapers next to massive surface parking lots and giant roadways. And so it makes me wonder how much we actually care about density as opposed to preserving institutions that perhaps have an interest in social division. And so this brings me to this concept of the 15-minute city, which I'm extremely excited to hear that you're interested in. I actually know Carlos Moreno. He and I were meant to meet in Paris when I was in London. Unfortunately, I couldn't because of the pandemic. So I was in London on a fellowship and I flew back. I was actually supposed to meet the Queen, believe it or not, but I couldn't because of the pandemic. I'm not lying. So instead of meeting the Queen, I was on a plane full of people in hazmat suits the day Boris Johnson shut down the country. Anyways, 15-minute city. I think it's a great concept. And I think it's really from a psychological perspective about needs. And can you get your needs met within 15 minutes of where you live? And when you look at that from the perspective of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the top of that need pyramid, if you haven't seen that before, there's food, shelter. At the top of that is actualization. And actualization to me is someone living out their potential and being able to contribute everything they can about who they are to society. And if they don't have their needs met, then we can't, we're not going to get to where we need to get to. And when I look at cities, I see potential. But we can't activate that potential if we don't have the basic needs met. So the notion of a 15-minute city to me, beautiful. However, I think something else that's extremely important to mention, and both of the previous all the previous speakers have spoken to this, is how there are massive disparities in our cities, which the pandemic has exacerbated. And a lot of these disparities exist along the lines of class and race and gender. And so in my, I just wrote a textbook chapter. There's an article coming out next week, and I'm proposing a concept called experiential equity. And it's really building on other forms of equity that are discussed. There's a distributional equity. So the notion is that if you build parks and cycling infrastructure everywhere, that will solve the problem of disparities. But there's a big body of research and a history of people talking about the disparities of experience in cities. In 1897, W.E.B. Du Bois, who's a Black sociologist, wrote a piece in The Atlantic about what he called double consciousness. And he referred to the experience of being a Black person in a racist society in the late 1800s. We haven't come that far if you think about it, right? There's protests going on all over the world highlighting these issues. But he talked about the experience of having to be conscious of his own experience of the world, but also being conscious of anticipating or experiencing racism. From a neuroscientific perspective, I see that as actually something that's worth exploring. It takes energy to constantly think about whether you're going to be safe. And so when some people might think about riding a bike to work and cars being the only threat, other people have to worry about other things. Women experience significant amounts of misogyny when they're on their bicycles or walking. They get catcalled. People of color might have to deal with racism. Black and Indigenous people particularly have to worry about police surveillance. So there are these other elements that actually affect our physiology. And there's been some work done on that by the late Dr. Rodney Clark, who was a Black psychologist, and he did some work around racism-related vigilance. And what he found was that people actually had a physiological, most of his research was on Black people in the United States, but he found that there's a physiological difference that is present when people anticipate or experience racism. But when you look at the research on how green space helps with restoration of our psychological state, all of the theories require these spaces to be unthreatening. So we have to consider these things. And so I'm 100% yes on board with the 15-minute city and human scale streets and everything. I've been talking about it, I tweet about it, but I think that we have to consider these other things, particularly as a racialized person. I experience cities differently. We all experience cities from a unique perspective. And if we really want our cities and the city of Ottawa to be a place that allows human potential to really expand and solve these problems of climate change, then we have to do it in a way that recognizes the massive issues that we have, that the Black Lives Matter protests, thankfully, have really brought to the forefront. You know, the pandemic has made us recognize the importance of space and public space, but the protests have asked us and made us question who has access to that space and what their experience is of it. So I'm looking at the time here, I'm making sure I'm not going to go over, but I really want to bring it back to Ottawa. I love Ottawa. I was lucky to have given the talk at the Bike Ottawa AGM, I think a couple of years ago. I got a cycling tour of the city, and it's amazing. And I think your quest to be Canada's greenest city, give it a shot. You guys got it. I know Vancouver gets a lot of the accolades for this, but what I loved about Ottawa was the connectivity of the cycling infrastructure. So I know Ecology Ottawa is really working on the active city, so getting people around in ways that don't involve driving, which I think is particularly important when we consider what being in a car does to us. I've become like the worst version of myself when I'm behind. Like I turn into a jerk. I know there are kids on this, so I'm not going to use any swear words, but I'm not a nice person because people become obstacles, you know, and you're disconnected from the world around you. So this active city component is extremely important because it humanizes the way that we travel. You can make eye contact with people. You can recognize the humanity of the people around you. Another aspect of Ecology Ottawa's mandate that I love is the living city. So when I was talking to Eric Pervin yesterday, preparing for today's talk, he mentioned something. He said that you're really interested in working with nature. I just want to take a second to think about that. What does working with nature mean? From when we're stressed out, and this is what I measure as a neuroscientist, we don't have the capacity, I don't think, to really recognize the unity that we're a part of. We see other people as dangerous, we see our environment as dangerous, and so the ability to feel like we're working with nature may not even be a possibility. So if we create cities that allow us to relax a little bit and see each other for human beings, I think we'll have the foundation to then act on these issues of climate change. But until we are all able to experience our daily lives without a constant threat, whether it's from vehicle traffic, whether it's from racism or misogyny, and all of these things that can be addressed in some way with urban design and other policy measures. When we get there, I think we'll have a tremendous capacity to facilitate change. And the last thing that I think is important to mention here is that there's been research done where they see that children who grow up around parks, in good quality parks, actually, when they become adults, they have a bigger sense of environmental stewardship. So think about that. When you develop good quality infrastructure and good quality parks and parks where everyone feels safe, then you're providing the next generation with the natural spaces to inspire them to care about the planet. So I know I'm reaching my time here. I'm really stoked for the questions in the Q&A period. And thank you again so much for having me. It's a tremendous honor to be able to speak at Ecology Ottawa. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. And I think that Canada, if we do things well, it could be the capital in the world of what it means to build cities that really ensure all the things that we've been talking about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Really excellent. So thought-provoking. The connections that you make that I think many of us probably haven't thought to make, really very interesting. And I saw a lot of, there was a lot in the chat. So have a moment to look at the chat. Lots of people adding to what you're saying and asking and commenting. We have a lot of questions, but we would love some more questions for any of the speakers. We've got some great questions for all of you. So I hope you'll all be ready because there's at least one question for each of the panelists. And we probably won't have time to get to all of them, but we are going to move on to the Q&A panel. But I would like to remind you to donate. We really need to meet our fundraising goal. And we know that in order for Ottawa to be the greenest capital, we need Ecology Ottawa to be stronger than ever. And coming out of COVID, I imagine we have such a window of opportunity. And so let's give them all the resources, even more than they've dared to dream about, to, make 2021 a really critically important and successful year. And we once again thank our city councilors who are here with us. We know that you're our champions, and we champion you, and hopefully more and more city councilors will come to the realization that having the greenest city in Canada is an achievable goal. Thank you, Dr. Mazumdar, for, letting us think that maybe we could catch up to Vancouver, possibly, potentially. I like to be ambitious, so that's great. So I would like to ask all of the panelists to come back on the stage, which really just means turn on your cameras since you can't physically come on the stage with me. But if you can turn on your cameras, then we know that you're here and that we can ask you some questions. We have questions. Actually, it seems that most of the questions, which I will look at now, are addressed to a specific panelist, but I will see if there's some that are more general. Ideally, to give us a chance to have as many as possible, can you keep your answers, as short as you can while still making your points? And again, people can keep using the chat box also. So I'm going to start with one for Rob, because I like this question and I think it's super important, because I think municipal elections are critically important. So Rob, how can we prepare for the next municipal election to make sure that green policies are actually at the forefront of the campaigns?
Great question. Thank you so much to whoever asked it, and to Judy for letting me hear. I mean, that's the whole the MO of Ecology Ottawa. The modus operandi is that we want to organize in communities. We want to be present in communities all over the city. And it's important to have that range, talking suburban, talking to people in every different corner of the city, and creating a critical mass of support. So I think that the fundamental answer is we start knocking on doors, tomorrow or as soon as COVID allows, basically to build that base of support and to create a mobilized constituency of people who demand action. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of people across the city who share basic values, and it's up to us to find them, to mobilize them, to organize them. And the election is an occasion to crystallize that action. So yeah, that's the plan, and that's what we exist to do.
Thanks very much. Okay, next question to Dr. Sloan. Not all of us have forward-thinking, environmental, holistic doctors in our corner. Brackets, are you taking new clients? That was just me adding that. What do you think we can do to push our own GPs in this direction?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think I think that you may be surprised to see that how many physicians are very passionate about this subject matter. As mentioned, I'm here not only representing myself tonight, but many of my colleagues, other colleagues here are here present, and I can tell you that there's thousands of colleagues across our country that are working tirelessly in their own ways, with their own talents, to advocate for a healthy recovery, to advocate for a sustainable future for our patients, for our communities, for our children, and future generations. So, it's a subject that you could bring up with your physician if you're wishing. The connectedness between health and environment is clear, right? And if there was ever a doubt, COVID-19 really has brought that to the forefront. And so this could be, something that you can bring up with your physician, and you can certainly look for, evidence-based ways along with your physician to prioritize a respectful relationship with the environment in your own life. And you can challenge your physician as well, to see what they're doing to better advocate for the health of all of us as we face this climate crisis.
Thank you very much. I was inspired. One of the leader candidates for the Green Party was a physician, Dr. Courtney Howard. She was impressive, really impressive.
She is, absolutely.
So I think there are more and more physicians. You're right. Valerie, this question's for you. What do you recommend as a first step to start a low or zero waste lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's clearly low-hanging fruits, but I suppose that probably the person who asked the question probably already has a reusable water bottle or a reusable coffee mug. That would be the really low-hanging fruit. If you want to push a little further, what I did when I started was to go one room at a time, and I started with my bathroom. So I looked at the products that I have in my bathroom. Back then, I counted 27 types of different soaps and creams and lotions that I was having for myself, for my teenage girls, and basically I replaced everything with one bar soap and one moisturizer. That's how I trimmed it down. We don't realize how much stuff we actually accumulate over the years. And I think the beauty section and the hygiene section is probably a good place to start. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much. This one is for, well, I guess for Robin, for Dr. Mazumder. It also talks a little bit about elections and how to get politicians to pay attention to your kind of message. But in another person also asked about moving towards a 15-minute neighborhood, and for example, often pushback in neighborhoods about putting benches in because they don't want, bums or people hanging around on benches. But for elderly or disabled folks, that's really important. So I guess sort of that municipal vision about how do you move that forward and get politicians and others to understand what will benefit everybody.
So sorry, just to clarify, the question is how do we get decision makers to jump on this 15-minute bandwagon?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to remember that decision makers are human beings too. I have a lot of that need the same things. I should say like that. So I have a lot of friends who are politicians, and I think sometimes they can get so bombarded by emails that aren't nice that they can maybe get a little jaded. And so how do you kindly have these conversations? And something that I've always tried to do in my work is just appeal to compassion. I know that everyone I know that's a politician, my friends who are politicians, got into this work because they care about people. And so I think sharing your stories of your own experiences might help compel them to consider these things. And I know, I didn't really speak to my advocacy work in my talk tonight, but I've done a lot of I guess community building, and I'm not answering your question quickly. I didn't take your advice, sorry, or your suggestion. So basically, I think it's about bringing them into the solutions and not just attacking them with what the problems are, but like trying to bring them in from the get-go. And what I see a lot of the time is that they have to really work against the car driving majority, because that is one thing that I think can be seen as an impediment to the 15-minute city, because the 15-minute city isn't about getting through the city quickly. It's about getting your needs met quickly within the neighborhood you live in. So I think it's just continuing to, I've gone through everything in the up and down of being like, I guess, an activist. Like I used to be angry, I used to tweet mean things. And then I became friends with politicians, and then I saw what it did to them, and I stopped. And I think that there's a productive, not to say that everyone who has something negative to share is not productive, but I think there's a proactive and compassionate way to have these conversations, because ultimately, if we're interested in this 15-minute city concept, it means that we care about people. And I think that the energy with which we have these conversations has a tremendous influence on how they're received and then how they're acted upon. Thanks
so much. Great. So there are so many questions, and I've been put in charge of picking, and it's terrible to pick. We will carry on these conversations. We'll have one more question, which will go to all the panelists, and then we're going to move over to the reception, where you can go look for all these wonderful people and talk to them at their table. So stay with us, head on over there. I am going to ask a question, which I believe, now I've lost it here, and it's for everybody. Did somebody remove the question? Honestly, I don't know if the people on the Ecology Ottawa team are playing around with me. I'm sure there was a question here. The question, I think, was to all of you is, there are several members of the Ottawa Public Health Board that are with us tonight, in the audience, as it were. What would you say to them? What would be maybe one piece of advice or request that you would say to them? And we'll start, maybe we'll start with Dr. Sloan, since it's about public health. And let the others think about it. So then Rob and then Valerie, and we'll end with Dr. Mazumdar.
Well, I think just first of all to thank them for all of their tremendous work throughout this entire pandemic, and they've been real leaders in our community. So thank you, from all of us. I think it's a great question. There's so much to be done. I think we need to have our voices heard. I think that we need to be considering health at the forefront of this recovery. And like I said, we've seen how we can unite together and make massive transformations when our health is threatened. And I think that we need to be sending this message very clearly to the public, to those who are in charge of policy, that our health matters and our actions today are responsible for the future that we are leaving for our children and future generations. There is no time to waste. This is a climate emergency that has been declared, and we need to act as though there is an emergency, and we need to prioritize these actions to protect the health of every one of us. There's no more time for business as usual. We need to move this forward, and as evidenced in the chat, we have a tremendous group of engaged physicians here in Ottawa, and we are all happy to collaborate and support this type of work going forward.
Thank you very much, Rob.
I would also echo Dr. Sloan's words of thanks. Thank you for all that you do. I think if there's a word of advice and maybe wisdom to share, I mean, it's that I think we just need to keep on working together to tell the story, right? I think that for all of us on the call, the links between environment and health are so clear. But for the public at large, it's not as clear. And I know that Ottawa Public Health is already moving in that direction, talking about congestion, talking about urban form. And I'm so excited by that conversation. Obviously, you've got bigger fish to fry right now in the short term. And so, Godspeed there. But once we can focus on everything else, obviously drawing those links will be so important. And groups like Ecology Ottawa are just so happy to play the role of partners in spreading that message, in raising that awareness, and in trying to drive positive change.
Thank you, Rob. Valérie.
Yes, I'd like to give a kudos to Ottawa Public Health, also from a zero waste grocery store perspective. I don't know if you're aware, but the beginning of the pandemic was a major threat to our business model, I would say. I mean, the concept of our store is to have people come to their store with their own containers and purchase products in bulk. And if you remember, reusables were the first thing that were on the chopping block at the beginning of the pandemic. So supermarkets started refusing even reusable totes. Coffee shops were refusing reusable mugs. Everyone was getting rid of reusables, but that is our concept. That is what our business was built upon. And we were very, very lucky that we have really a good relationship with our public health officer, with whom we collaborated quite closely to put in place the safety measures that I believe make our store one of the safest places to shop, I think, in Ottawa. I mean, I've heard that from some of our customers who said that they feel very safe shopping at our store. And that was because of the collaboration that we had with our public health inspector. So that was a very good example of what we can do together. And my only advice is just keep doing it.
Thank you so much. And last words of wisdom to Robin.
First of all, like everyone else said, thank you so much. I don't know how you do what you do. I don't know how you did what you did before this pandemic. So, buy you a drink or a coffee at some point to express my gratitude. But one of the things, the reason that I left working I mean, you're in public health, but the reason I left working in as a frontline healthcare professional is because I saw that there was a disconnect between, as I perceived it, between what was happening at the city. I mean, at the time I was working as an occupational therapist, I was working on the city of Edmonton's mayor's task force and on poverty, and I was trying to bring the city together with public health professionals. And it just seemed like there was a lot of issues of knowledge translation, and there was some siloing as it just naturally occurred because of the way that our system is built. So, you know, if there's civic committees and other forms of, you know, boards or governmental organizations or initiatives, I think like if you have the time to find a way to sit on those boards, because I was really wanting to see that when I was in Edmonton, and I'm sure you are, but I just would love to see more crosstalk between different ministries so that we can solve all these same problems, because I know that climate change and public health and all of these things all we're going to the same solution here. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Really fantastic. And we have so many more questions and so many comments that it's just crazy. I wish we were all together, but we feel together. And I can tell you that the platform we're going to next is pretty awesome. So do go over there, but not yet, because we have another and last door prize to give away and some other information to share with you. So I would like to let you know about the last two people who have won a door prize. And it's a very exciting door prize because it's the bike tune-up, which I totally wanted to get. So our winners for this last draw are James Mihaichuk, if I hopefully said your name right, and Gail Italiano are the two winners, door prize winners for four bike tune-up with parts from Bike Mobile. So they will come to your house and tune up as many as 4 of your bikes and give you $40 worth of replacement parts. Wow, very, very cool. That is fantastic. So I just wanted to say we will be announcing the progress made on the donations, but I would like to say that even if you think we're doing well, please donate more, because their goal was they could do more, and they could use more to do more and to do better for all of us. And for all of us, I think we can manage to contribute a little bit more and get a little bit more involved so that we can turn Ottawa and Canada into the kind of place that young people, like another young person in the chat box said she's been inspired at 11 years old to start her own organization. And she credits Ecology Ottawa for some of that inspiration. So let's not let our young people down any more than we already have as adults by really, putting our money where our mouth is, making a donation to Ecology Ottawa, going in until 11:59 tonight and bidding on those amazing prizes that, think of those who've given something and they've only had a few bids. Think about how it feels. Go in there and, add your bids and make them feel good for having made a donation to this amazing cause. So I think that we are going to get a screen with the update of the donation. So yay, we've actually gone slightly over the target, which is fantastic. And thank you to everybody for doing that. But please, if you haven't yet donated, please do it now. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't blow this target out of the water. So please keep on donating. And now I'm going to tell you how and why to go on over to Rally. First of all, you have to have Google Chrome. So make sure you have that downloaded. Maybe we could put it into the link again into the chat box in case latecomers didn't see it. If you don't have Google Chrome, download it for free so that you can go over to Rally. There it is. And I think then after that will be maybe the link to Rally again, but you got it in your emails, etc. So when you go over there, you will get to choose your room. I think we have a slide that will share with us the 6 rooms broken into the first set of rooms have a topic. and then which will start roughly soon, 8:30 or maybe a little bit after. 3 rooms have a topic. So if you're interested in that topic, or you suspect that one of our panelists might go to that topic, because I know I'm going to be chasing them around virtually all night, you can join one of those rooms, or there's an open networking where there's no particular theme, but you can go in there and just look for friends. I'll come looking for some of my friends who I know are with us tonight. And then there will be a change of themes for the second session, and then you will be able to go and visit and talk about those topics. So those themes are really interesting. I think they were shared with you in the email as well. We just wanted to, let you all know that these rooms are unmoderated, so moderate yourselves. And young people, just be aware that they are unmoderated, but I think we're a really great community, and we welcome people to come and share what they've been doing, or ask more questions, or just socialize a little bit in those spaces. Nous avons une salle ouverte francophone aussi. Alors, s'il y a des gens qui aimeraient aller jaser avec d'autres francophones, peut-être que Valérie ira peut-être un peu dans cette salle-là, et on aura la chance, peut-être ce serait moins de personnes. Alors, ça serait l'occasion pour peut-être de parler un peu avec Valérie, si vous voulez. And I will just, room A is the wine room. Room B is permaculture. And room C is healthy, efficient, and comfortable homes. So super cool topics that you can enjoy chatting about, learning about. Or you can just go to the open room en anglais ou en français to chat with folks and move around in the spaces as well. Each segment is 30 minutes long. And when you go into the room, introduce yourself. So you'll be able to see people. It's not just a chat. So keep your fancy clothes on and say hello, and you'll have a chance to really interact quite personally with people. So they are going to be super fun. I think that is really all I want to say. It's 8:30, which is bang on, I think, when we wanted to start our first set of rooms. So the link to Rally is right there in your chat box. Click the link, head on over there, and we'll see you all in the next room. Merci tout le monde.
Yeah. But if you had some, like, yeah.